Have you ever forgotten something? How recently was it? If you're anything like me, it was probably just a few minutes ago. Have you ever wondered why that happens? Well, the easiest explanation that I found described how our brain tries to understand things, not try to remember everything. Did you know our brain processes 400 billion pieces of information a second? So it would be impossible to remember everything. And that's why our brain picks and chooses the information that it thinks is important. And if your brain picks information important, it places it in your memory files. So say that you were studying for a math test and you learned something that might be on the test. Your brain will store it or keep the information in the brain because it knows it will be needed sometime soon. But you don't remember every commercial you see because your brain knows it won't be needed and it's not important. This leads me into my second question, which was, how much can you remember? I discovered that your brain isn't like digital cameras with memory cards. Your brain's storage space is practically limitless. But like I said before, you can't remember every single thing. So let me rephrase that. Your storage space is limitless, but can only be filled with important information. The information that your brain chooses important ends up making your memories. I don't know if you ever heard or saw the movie Inside Out before, but this clip from the movie kind of summarized what I'm trying to say with memories.
Anyway, these are Riley's memories, and they're mostly happy, you'll notice, not to brag. But the really important ones are over here. I don't want to get too technical, but these are called core memories. Each one came from a super important time in Riley's life. Like when she first scored a goal. Oh, it was so amazing. And each core memory powers a different aspect of Riley's personality. Like Hockey Island.
When your brain makes a memory, it also has to decide how important the memory is. Like you could have a memory that only lasts a couple of seconds, but you could also have a memory that lasts your entire life. Your brain constantly empties information that is not needed to make room for new information. So let's go back to the math test example I used before. So when you learn after that might be on the math test, your brain makes it a memory. When your math test comes, you'll most likely remember the information that you learned. But after the math test, you'll move on to another section or another chapter. So if you don't think about the chapter you had before, let's just say it was multiplication, your brain will filter out most of your knowledge on multiplication. But don't think that if you don't think about multiplication or the chapter you had before, you're not going to remember anything about the chapter you had before, because that is not what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is if you don't think about it, it will take a little bit of time to remember. I had a couple more questions that I found my answer to during my research. One of them was, what part of the brain controls the memory? I found out that memories are usually processed through the hippocampus. Old information and new information are stored away in different areas of the cerebral cortex, which is the largest outermost part of the brain. The second one was, are there different types of memory? Yes, there are. There are 3 kinds, as a matter of fact. They are stored away in different areas. There are 3 different types of short-term memory. Long-term memory and working memory. Short-term memory, long-term memory, and working memory. Each type of memory is controlled by a different part of the brain. Short-term memory is controlled by the frontal lobe. There are memories that are really recent and are stored for a short time. For example, you see short-term memory when you use short-term memory to remember a phone number while you dial it. Working memory is similar to short-term memory, but with working memory, you manipulate or use data in some way. For example, you try to remember a phone number longer than just a few seconds. You write it down or you share it with someone else. Lastly, long-term memories are memories that we remember for a long time. The kind of memory is usually something that matters the most to us, or things we do the most. A long-term memory might be your favorite vacation or getting your dog or something else like that. We usually remember the things that matter the most to us or the things we do the most. At this point in my research, I wanted to learn more, and that is what I did. I started wondering if dreams have anything to do with memory. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I had no clue. I mean, have you ever wondered why dreams make no sense when you think of it after you sleep? Like in your dream, you go to the boardwalk with your mom, and the next thing you know, you're leaving Disney with your dad. That's because your brain puts together all of the things in your mind. You can dream about living in Candyland the one night, and the next night you dream about zombies invading your house. I mean, there is no similarities with those two dreams. They are totally different. You could have one long dream that night, and the next night you have 8 different short ones. Even if you are positive that flying a giant marshmallow is not on your mind, whatever other weird, embarrassing thing you envisioned, it is deep down inside of you. Moving on. I had another question about dreaming, which was, do dreams affect you the next day? Using my research expertise, I found out that a bad dream will affect your mood the next day until something else funny or happy happens, and your mood changes. Because when you wake up, you might think that'll come true, and you'll get stuck in your head until your mood changes and you forget about it. You end up being grumpy and angry the next day, like this lady. It will take a long time to forget about it, and it will forget about it completely, but it won't scare you or annoy you anymore. So let's wrap it up. The most important thing you should have learned is that everyone forgets things, and you shouldn't get mad if you forget something. And always remember Abraham Lincoln's words: no man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. Thank you.